Hello and welcome to Sky Class. This is a short tutorial about creating your first class, setting up content so that students can register for your class, launch the Alexa application for Sky Class, and instantly be brought into your content. So the first thing that you need to do is create an account on the website, myskyclass.com, log in, and when you log in you're going to be taken to a page that looks like this. This is your My Account page. You're going to notice here at the bottom of this page that it says that you haven't created any classes yet, and there will be a link for you to follow to create your first one. You could alternatively go up to the top menu and select My Classes. It's the same page. This is the page you're going to be on most of the time when you're creating content, setting up your class. When you get to this class, you're going to notice in the left column that there are no classes yet created. You create one or more classes in this left column. The way you add your first class is by double-clicking the New Class box on the right. By double-clicking it, it's going to create a blank class over on the left side. Now, if you want to add more classes, you can do that. You can either double-click this, it'll add more below this one, or you can drag and drop. If you have multiple, you can drag them into position. Create any number of classes that you want. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're not going to create any others though. On the left, you're going to see one blank class with no sections, no slides, and no students in it. The way you edit this and any other item really on the left side of these pages is by double-clicking it. Now when you double-click that, you're going to see the editing pane opened up, and you're going to see a number of form fields for editing the piece of information you just double-clicked. In this case, it's the top-level class. Here's where you name your class, and you're going to want to name it descriptively because students are going to see this name when they're registering, and this is the name that is going to be listed for students at any time they're looking at the classes that they're registered for. So we're going to call this my test class. You're going to notice underneath the title is the registration code. This is the code that you're going to be giving to students to register for your class. We're going to come back to that a little bit later, but this is the number that you're going to need. Underneath this are two required fields. One is the description that appears before the student is registered. It's after they add the registration code, but before they click the button to actually register for the class. So this description would clarify what this class is about, and this might alleviate some confusion. If the student happens to have more than one registration code, they can be sure that this is in fact the class that they want to register for. Below this is the description that appears after the student is registered. So every time they look at the class in their student registration, they're going to see this description after the name of the class. You could put any information here that would be pertinent to the student with respect to getting work done in the class or following up with some information in the class. Maybe you want to put your email in here, but we're going to just put in a sample sentence. Below this is the visibility checkbox that allows students to access the class. This checkbox must be checked for this class to be available on any level, for a student to register for it, and also for students that are registered to launch this within their Alexa skill. If this is turned off, it's effectively the same as the class not existing for the student. So when the class is all done, for instance, and you want to hold on to the information but you don't want students to find their way back into the class or play around with the class, you just uncheck this, and then the class is disabled. Okay, so we're going to save off that class information. Now we need to add a section under the class. A class needs to have at least one section. A section is like a folder that holds slides. Slides are the content that Alexa delivers. You need at least one section. You can think of a section as a folder. The sections really don't have any functionality except in one specific condition, except for grouping content in a way that's helpful to you. It would be more awkward to manage a lot of slides of content that were not categorized into sections. Sections do have the ability to be designated as a test section, and a test section means that the questions inside that section are all being recorded as a single test. So you'll need to have all the questions in an online quiz inside one particular section for as many tests as you have. You'd have an individual section for each one of those. Beyond that, sections are just a grouping mechanism. So the way we add a section, like all these ones on the right, is just by double clicking it. Then a blank section will appear on the left, and again you can drag and drop. You can have multiple sections inside of a class. So you can see this section has no slides in it. It's a content section, it's not a test. We're going to double click it. Here at the top we're going to name the section. The student's not going to see this name, this is just for your reference, but we're going to call it the welcome section, and we're going to save that. Okay, so you can see it's updated. If at any point you want to go back up a level, back to sections or back to classes, as you're moving around, I recommend you use the return button that's in the upper right hand side rather than using the back button on your browser, which could create some problems with the class editing. So to back up, use this yellow button. Okay, so now we're in the section. The section, again, this form's going to be opened up, but you can close any of these panes just by clicking on the title bar at the top of them. To create, you're going to need a certain number of slides. You're going to need at least one slide in this section. This being the very first section, the first slide in this section is going to be the landing point when students enter the class. So this is going to be your welcome slide, or your top menu slide, if you want to think of it that way. And the way we add it is just by double clicking it, just like the others. You add a blank slide over to the left. And you can add additional slides underneath that. In fact, we're going to add a second slide just for the purpose of this tutorial. And we're gonna go down to that second slide first. It's recommended that you create your slides before you connect the slides together. Connecting them together is a lot easier when you can see what you're connecting to, rather than having to go back and create slides as you go, and then going back and editing the connections and connecting them to slides that you created after the first slide, second slide, and so forth. So we're going to set up two slides, and we're going to just name the second slide the end of the class, and save it. We're not going to do any other work on it. We just need it in the system so that we can use it as a landing point. So we're going to click the back button. You can see the name of the class, the end of the class, second slide is in there. But we're really interested in editing this first slide, the welcome slide, the top slide, and we're going to call that slide welcome. And this is something that the student sees. They see that in their Alexa app, the name of the slide. It's the title of the card for this part of the Alexa skill that they're in. You can have Alexa read the title of the slide before she reads the remainder of the content by clicking this box, include title. If you don't want her to read this and you want her to go directly to the speech you designate down here, you leave it unchecked. Each slide has a prompt. A prompt is the way that Alexa will deliver options for the student to go from this slide to another slide of content. There are a number of different opportunities on here. We're going to pick numbered options just to show you this. Numbered options will be a numbered list, a menu that the student can pick from by saying the number of the item that they want to select. You can see the actual prompt that Alexa is going to say. She's going to say, after she reads this content, she's going to say the number corresponding to one of the following options, or say repeat to hear this again. Now you can edit this default wording by clicking this button, radio button right here. And you can go in here. Let's say, for instance, the word option is not a good word. Maybe you want this to say the number corresponding to one of the following topics that you'd like to read, or say repeat to hear this again. Something like that. You can go in and edit this if you'd like. Now, just for the purpose of what we're doing, I'm going to leave it in the default wording, and so it'll go back to read only. But you can edit that, modify that. The speech is what Alexa's going to say when she delivers this content. So this can be anything you'd like. We're going to have her say, "Welcome to my class." Though this can be rather long and punctuated, and there are a number of different interesting emphasizers and things that you can put into Alexa as she's reading, but just a straight basic copy. She's going to read that sentence right there. You can then follow up what she reads here with a streaming audio track if you want. You can have an MP3 that starts to stream after she's done. and you can also have an email attachment, so that if it's a topic that the student's interested in, the student could ask to be emailed more information about that topic, and then an email will be sent with whatever attachment you connect to that slide. So you can send the student quite a few documents and things in the course of your class for follow-up information, for diagrams, forms to fill out, things like that. You can attach documents that are sent by email. But for the purpose of the tutorial, we're going to ignore these two things. Most slides that you put together are not going to have these. So we're going to save that, and you can see it's updated. And now we need to create the options. The options are the things that Alexa reads that are your options for responding to this content. And we're going to add 2 of them here because this is numbered options, so we're going to need at least 2. You can see we have one here, and it'll come out blank, and we're going to add a second one. And again, this is all drag and drop this stuff, so you can drag and drop a new option just by moving the box over to the left, on top of or below the existing option. To edit, you click the left side of this box, you double click it, and you're going to go in and you're going to name this option. So Alexa's going to read option number 1, and then your first selection is going to be, let's end the class. And you're going to notice that already here in the slide that the user's directed to is the next slide in the list, which happens to be the only other slide you've created, end of the class. So you can see why we created that slide first. Makes it possible for you to select that for this particular option. If you look down here, you can see the first options there. Let's end the class, and we're going to create a second option, which is again going to connect to the very same slide because there is only one other slide. And we're going to offer another option like the first one. So now we have 2 different options that Alexa is going to read as options for the student to choose from after she's done reading this content. You could have any number of options up to 10, and each of these can connect to any number of slides. And I should point out that when you designate the slide that you want to connect this option to take the student to next, it can be from any section. So all your sections that you've created are going to be in this left list. And then as you change these, the right list, which is going to list all the slides in that section, is going to populate. So you can send people by choosing anything on any slide to any other section and any slide in that section. Okay, so now we have a completed class. It's not much of a class, but it's a class. You've got really one active slide in this class, and you can work your way back up to the section. You can see the class. Now here again is the registration code for this class. You can see the class now has one section with 2 slides. No students are registered. A student will register. You'll provide them that registration code. They'll go to this page, My Classes, after they log in, and they'll copy that registration code into this slot. That's all they need to do. You can see you're not registered for any classes. You might want to register for your own class. This is how you'll do it. Click Register. You're going to see that intro description that I mentioned, talking to the student about what the class is. And you're going to have the opportunity to register that class. If you register, you're in it. You're going to see the registration message now. When you start Sky Class next time, you're going to be taken directly into this content. You're going to get that very first slide in the very first section is what you're going to be read. Okay, that's the end of the tutorial. Very quick and easy to create a class. Not much of a class, but you fill it in with your own content, and you're on your way to creating your first interactive educational experience.